سبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر كبيرا والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون لا إله إلا الله وحده صدق وعده ونصر عبده وأعز جنده وهزم الأحزاب وحده لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر كبيرا والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون لا إله إلا الله وحده صدق وعده ونصر عبده وأعز جنده وهزم الأحزاب وحده لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر كبيرا والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون لا إله إلا الله وحده صدق وعده ونصر عبده وأعز جنده وهزم الأحزاب وحده لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر كبيرا والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون لا إله إلا الله وحده صدق وعده ونصر عبده وأعز جنده وهزم الأحزاب وحده لا إله إلا الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. The Eid prayer will now begin. This is different to normal congregational prayers. There's no ikama, there's no azan, and there are 7 takbirat in the first rakat and 5 in the second. And immediately after the Eid prayers, we will say the takbir once or twice, and then the khutbah will begin, the sermon for today. And after that, we will send greetings online, virtually, to all the people in this group, as well as people beyond. So get ready on your prayer mats and follow me, please. Thank you. Allahu Akbar. 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 Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious and most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise belongs to God, the Lord of all the worlds. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the beneficent, the compassionate. Malik Yawmiddin, the sovereign of the day of judgment. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. You alone do we worship, and you alone do we ask for help. Ehdina sirat al-mustaqim, guide us in the straight path. Sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim, غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. The path of those on whom you bestowed your blessings, not the path of those who incurred your displeasure, or those who have gone astray. Ameen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يأكل اليتيم ولا يحض على المسكين وويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Have you seen the one that denies the judgment of God? He who urges not the feeding of the needy and treats the orphan harshly. So woe to these praying ones who are mindful of their prayers, who only do good to be seen by others, who refrain from random acts of kindness. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allah wa liman hamidah. Rabbana lakal hamd. Allahu Akbar. 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 Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise belongs to God, the Lord of all the worlds. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the beneficent, the compassionate. Malik Yawmiddin, the sovereign of the day of judgment. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. You alone to be worshipped, and you alone to be asked for help. Ahdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Guide us in the straight path. Sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim, غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. The path of those on whom we bestowed your blessings, not the path of those who incurred your displeasure, or those who have gone astray. Ameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. With the help of God comes the victory, and you will see people entering God's religion in multitudes. So ask forgiveness from your Lord, but surely God is oft returning to mercy. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allah liman hamidah. Rabbana lakal hamd. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allah Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Wallahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Wallahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Wallahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Lillahil hamd. Alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharik lahu lahul mulku wal hamd wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammad wa ala ummatahu amma ba'd. All praise belongs to God. There is no deity except the one God. Peace and blessings from the Almighty be upon all of you. I seek refuge in God from all perversity and wrongdoing. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praise is due to the Creator, the Lord of all the worlds. I bear testimony that there is no deity except God Almighty, who is utterly unique and has no associate or partner. To God belongs total sovereignty and exclusive praise, and His absolute power and control over everything and everyone. Peace and salutation to Muhammad and to his community. Beloved friends, brothers and sisters, wherever you are, we have, despite the global pestilence originating from China, creating destructive havoc in the lives of people throughout the world, we are gathered online today with joy and happiness in our hearts that we witness the end of this year's Hajj. Today is the 10th day of Dhul Hijjah, the final month of the Islamic calendar. This means that it is al-Adha, the festival of the sacrifice. This jubilant celebration takes place each year during this 12th month of the Islamic lunar calendar. Even with the catastrophic impact of the corona contagion that has reduced vastly the yearly pilgrimage to Mecca to a minuscule replica of normality, today's worldwide festivities mark not only the conclusion of the annual Hajj to Mecca, but also is a huge tribute to Prophet Abraham's inspirational willingness to undertake the ultimate sacrifice to serve God alone. This year, only some 10,000 people, instead of the over 3 million pilgrims, have the honor and privilege to gather in what is usually the greatest mass assembly of humanity to perform the Hajj. We all rejoice vicariously with the few pilgrims in fulfilling this primary pillar of Islam. It is, as we know, a Quranic duty that requires that every fit and financially able Muslim to undertake this trip to Arabia once in their lifetime. So only with a few thousand residents of Saudi Arabia that have converged yesterday on the plains of Arafat to rededicate themselves to the worship of the one true divine being, that very same God of Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, peace and blessings of God be upon all of his noble prophets and illustrious messengers. The theme of today's Eid sermon, khutbah, focuses on the power and the prudence of the Hajj. What are the principal precepts and the pertinence of the pilgrimage? In other words, what is the true purpose and philosophy behind the pilgrimage? The pilgrims that are there present in Makkah today not only glorify and praise God's omnipotence, his wondrous majesty, his infinite compassion, and his unlimited mercy, but they also reaffirm the cardinal tenet of Islam. What is this key teaching? It is to re-emphasize the clarion call of our faith that declares that there is only one God, one humanity, one destiny. One God, one humanity, one destiny for all. It is this truly motivational missive of one God and one humankind that is at the heart and soul of the Hajj, at the core and the center of the pilgrimage to Makkah al-Mukarramah, that sanctified metropolis and original birthplace of unfettered monotheism. For millions around the world and the few that are in Makkah, what then is the power and the prudence of the pilgrimage? What have they learned, those few that have been there, and people in other years? What have they learned from this once-in-a-lifetime experience? Let me just repeat this. There is no need for people to go multiple times to Makkah. The Quran only requires it once, and the Prophet Muhammad himself only performed the Hajj once. So this fetish that people need to go there several times, somehow to bring them closer to God, that is not what the Quran itself tells us. So what these pilgrims who are there now, those who have been there before, what new wisdom and insight have these Hajjis, as they are now known, acquired? What practical benefits have they gained from performing this fifth pillar of Islam? What has been the real purpose of their journey to the Hijaz, the epicenter of Islam? What have they gained by taking the time and the trouble to travel to that part of the world? Was this odyssey to the focal point of Islam just another trip, some kind of holiday, some sort of vacation? Was it merely to satisfy the whims and the fancy of travelers who now can claim that they are being to the religious bastion of Islam? Was this just a lovely break from their normal routine? And most importantly, have the pilgrims achieved the fundamental goals and objectives of the Hajj? As true believers, we must address these salient points and questions regarding the goals and the grandeur of the Hajj. When one analyzes and distills the multifaceted messages and motives of the Hajj, it can be conveniently summarized into 5 main points. And just like the pillars, the 5 pillars and the 5 principles and the 5 precepts of Islam, we see that there are 5 points that stand out in terms of the Hajj. We all know that the Arkan al-Iman, the principle of faith, entail 5 basic beliefs, incorporating the uncompromising unity of God, Tawheed, the belief in angelic and unseen forces, the reverence for all prophets of the Lord, the respecting of all sacred books of established religions, and the inevitable last day, the day of judgment. The Arkan al-Iman, the 5 pillars of Islam, entail the Shahada, the testimony of faith, prayers, salah, charity, zakah, fasting, song, and of course, Hajj, the pilgrimage. Now, added to this, we can add to this what I call the Arkan al-Amal, the 5 precepts of Islam, which obligates all devout Muslims to champion justice, equality, freedom, tolerance, and activism. And this can be summarized in the acronym JEFTA, J-E-F-T-A. And this will be the subject of an in-depth future khutbah on Fridays, inshallah. Now back to the Hajj. For the sake of convenience, the chief lessons of the Hajj can be listed into 5 points. So what are these 5 key benefits that pious pilgrims should have acquired while performing the rituals and traditions associated with the Hajj? To assist the memory, and since the word pilgrimage itself begins with the letter P, each of these main lessons also begins with the very same letter, P. In other words, the 5 P's of the pilgrimage. And these are parity, plurality, piety, philanthropy, and perseverance. The Hajj intertwines personal facets and social aspects with intellectual and spiritual dimensions that are beneficial for devout believers when they eventually return home to resume their mortal lives. By far the most evocative imagery linked with the Hajj is the egalitarianism of this great Islamic institution. And this, my friends, constitutes the first P, the P of parity. As the pilgrims gather in Makkah, they perform ceremonial acts relating to the Hajj, including the tawaf, the circling of the Kaaba, and the huge assembly of believers on the plains of Arafat yesterday. They are all dressed in the same simple ihram, the 2 seamless white sheets of cotton, equal not only in the sight of God, but also in the eyes of each other. By all wearing identical clothing, both the beggar and the billionaire, the prince and the pauper extol universal equality and global fraternity. All distinctions of race, gender, and ethnicity, as well as class, caste, and culture are jettisoned. In its place, there is a profound parity, a spiritual equality overriding the artificial barriers of social separation that produces in its wake an inclusive union that is so intrinsic to the Quranic epistle. This oneness, this commonality, and this equality of all humanity is repeatedly stressed in Islam's sacred scripture, and we read about this in the beautiful verse from Surah Al-Hujurat, chapter 49, verse 13. Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha, waj'alnakum shu'uban qabaila litarifun, inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, inna Allaha alimun khabir. O humanity, we created you from a single male and a single female. Then we made you into different tribes and nations so that you may know one another and not despise each other. And surely the noblest amongst you in the sight of God is the one who is righteous and God-conscious, and verily God is all-knowing all the way. Here we have the seminal thrust from Islam's transcendent text. It is only true righteousness and genuine piety that distinguishes one person from another. It is probity and righteousness alone that makes one honorable in God's sight. Everything else, be it wealth, status, talent, pedigree, or descent, sinks into oblivion and irrelevance as far as the Creator is concerned. And so vital is this concept of parity in the pilgrimage that it embraces everything and champions gender equity and sexual parity where men and women are on par with one another. This emphasis on gender equality is repeatedly reinforced in the Holy Quran, where females and males are described as truly interdependent partners and co-equal mates for each other. We read about this profound gender equality in a lucid passage from Surah Al-Baqarah in chapter 2, verse 287. Hun libas lakum wa antum libas lahun. Women are a garment for you as men are a garment for them. Note that the exact same terminology is used for both sexes, highlighting indisputable gender equality and sexual parity. This Islamic equivalency between the sexes is also reflected in the Hajj rituals. For example, you will find no physical distancing, no physical separation in Islam's blessed mosque or in the 5 daily prayers during the Hajj. During the pilgrimage, there is no, I repeat, no discriminatory sexual apartheid, no sexual apartheid. And it is especially noteworthy that the niqab or the burqa, in other words, the face masks are expressly forbidden. And here we are not talking about this mask currently people are wearing over the world to ward off coronavirus. We are talking about a face mask that deliberately conceals identity. That mask, the hijab, the hijab, the niqab, and the burqa. So the niqab and the burqa is banned. It's forbidden in Islam's sacred mosque. So if female face masking is banned in Makkah, the holiest place in Islam, then why is it required anywhere else? If it's not needed at the Kaaba, why do the patriarchal Muslim clergy claim that it is a religious duty for women? Do they not know that women cannot perform their 5 daily prayers while their faces are covered? Are they not aware that even the term niqab or burqa is not found anywhere in the Holy Quran? Clearly, the current fixation of female face masking has nothing to do with Islam and everything to do with primitive tribal customs and chauvinistic traditions coming from backward lands like Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Yemen, and elsewhere. So remember this, my friends. If you come across any masked Muslim women, ask them, where does it actually say in the Quran you need to cover your face? Indeed, when the Hajj is scrutinized, we see that sexual equity is the definitive defining feature of the pilgrimage. From this striking observation, it is plain that Hajj promotes full human parity between all peoples, and most particularly between the genders, between men and women. The Hajj encapsulates a fundamental equality and irrefutable parity between females and males that cannot be denied, diluted, or distorted by the bigoted leaders and toxic theologians from different Muslim sects and denominations. This now leads us to the second P of the pilgrimage, which involves the chief concept of universalism within Islam. Closely combined with parity in the faith is the notion of plurality. The Hajj teaches that in reality all people are one and the same, that everyone is equal, irrespective of ancestral origins or professional status. By endorsing this plurality of humanity and transforming it into a tolerant multiplicity of global unity, the Hajj is a graphic illustration of human variety and social diversity at its very best. The Hajj underpins the idea that in Islam, all synthetic divisions, every artificial barrier, such as ethnicity, sex, economics, or ideology, have no legitimacy in God's estimation. Whether you are a Sunni or a Shia, a Sufi or a Salafi, an Ahmadi or a Zaidi, a Wahhabi or a Deobandi, everyone is an equal part of this inclusive divine pantheon. The pilgrimage, more than any other aspect of Islam, expressly confirms that all people are equal and on par with one another. It's only the individual piety and personal righteousness that differentiates them. God alone, as we say repeatedly, God alone is Maliki Yawmiddin, the sovereign of the day of judgment, the final judge, the exclusive arbiter of faith and belief. This is God's job alone, regardless of what prejudiced priests might claim. Therefore, a critical interrelated facet of the Hajj is that it sanctions total theological tolerance for all believers, be it a Sunni or Shia, Salafi or Sufi. To reaffirm this wonderful denominational diversity within Islam, Muslims are commanded, we are told in Surah Nisa, chapter 4, verse 95, chapter 4, verse 94, to be completely non-judgmental. We must be non-judgmental. And let's read what this verse tells us. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha darabtum fi sabilillah fatabayyanu wa la taqulu liman aqaa ilaykum as-salam lasta al-mu'minan. O you who believe, when you go forth in the path of God, be sure in all that you do, and say not to anyone who offers you peace and salutation that you are not a believer. So from this highly pertinent verse and several others like it, it is self-evident that no one can bar anyone from performing the Hajj when these people, define themselves as Muslim and uphold the kalima shahada, the testimony of faith that confirms the unity of God and testifies to the prophethood of Muhammad. Therefore, any attempt by the decadent Saudis and other opportunist groups to bar and forbid any Muslim from undertaking the Hajj purely on ideological grounds or on the basis of sectarian interpretation is completely null and void. This is in complete variance with Quranic Islam. So in a nutshell, the first two P's of the pilgrimage, the parity and the plurality of the Hajj, transforms it into a beautiful global mosaic where racial equality and gender parity are at the crucible of the entire experience. And this is best summed up by that moving Islamic slogan of one God, one humanity. The Hajj is thus a powerful demonstration of the stellar teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, championing total racial egalitarianism in Islam. In other words, there's no distinction between black and white, between Arab and non-Arab. In fact, Islam's founder taught that ethnic nepotism or nationalistic jingoism of any kind or any kind of bigotry is simply contrary to the uplifting universalism of the pilgrimage. And this message was graphically illustrated by the late Malcolm X, that remarkable African-American leader, until he performed the Hajj in 1964, viewed all white people as the embodiment of evil. But after witnessing and experiencing Islam's universalism and plurality during the pilgrimage, he, Malcolm X, underwent a sea change to treat all people equally, and he embraced authentic Islamic precepts of equality and inclusivity. His riveting autobiography is a must-read for all Muslims and others to see how he came to adopt real Quranic Islam and how he deserted the nationalistic black racism of Islam that sometimes is practiced in the United States. So with parity and plurality as the foundations of the Hajj, the pilgrimage helps to educate pilgrims to welcome all human variations as expressions of the divine will. It tells them that differences should not be used as pretext or reasons for inequality, tolerance, and discrimination. The Hajj inspires Muslims to be humble, not to be haughty, to know that all of us have identical origins and the same destiny. We all come from God, and surely we will all return to the Creator. And we will be held accountable for our prejudices, for our racism, for our bigotry, and for our intolerance. The Hajj teaches us to live in perfect harmony on this planet, to overcome irrational biases, rabid cultural brainwashing, and the sick hatred of other peoples. The pilgrimage shows us how to be non-sexist, non-sectarian, and non-racial. And the Hajj propels us to embrace the beautiful multiplicity of all of God's magnificent creation. And when this is done, Hajj guides us to the path of mutual respect and harmonious coexistence, while preparing us to meet the Maker, to meet our Maker with confidence and relish. We now come to the third P, the third lesson that pilgrims should derive from the Hajj. And this is the P of piety or proximity. Piety or proximity to the Creator when they are in the citadel of monotheism. While Muslims are required to undertake the 5 obligatory prayers each day, some do not do so regularly. The Hajj serves to correct this, as it is a rigorous training ground where, in a continuous week-long 24-hour company of other pilgrims, the individual is repeatedly reminded to reaffirm their faith, their iman, and to reconnect with God by revering and worshipping the Lord as an integral part of their daily lives. And when pilgrims attain greater piety and acquire intensified taqwa, righteousness, this is transmitted into their normal lives so that they realize that God is indeed closer to them than their own aorta or their jugular veins. In the immortal words of the Holy Quran, we read in Surah Al-Kahf, chapter 50, verse 16, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ وَنَعْمَلُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. And assuredly, we have created man, and we know what his mind whispers to him. And we are nearer to him than even his jugular vein. So this Quranic ayah verse tells us that God is within all of us. He's inside and closer than any physical body part, as we have all been embedded in our DNA with the divine nexus from birth, which is part of the God-given fitrah or natural human predisposition. It is undeniable that regular prayers generate piety and proximity to God. But regular prayers must be sincere, must be intense, must be earnest, not just for form. And such prayers, sincere prayers, brings you not only nearer and closer to the Creator, which is the grand purpose of the Hajj, but it also brings you closer to God's creation. The pilgrimage is deliberately designed to encourage ordinary people to upgrade their faith with genuine iman and authentic taqwa, righteousness. It urges them not to be content simply to be at the lowest level of religiosity as just Muslims. Muslims is a kindergarten level of belief. But to progress from being Muslim to become to a more elevated state of spiritual connectedness. Remember, a Muslim is simply a superficial or basic follower of the faith. He or she needs to advance to become true believers, a real mu'min. And this is the immediate objective of the pilgrimage, to inject deeper piety and heightened righteousness into the lives of the pilgrims so that they become more closely allied to the Lord of the cosmos. So when pilgrims return home, they can lead exemplary and virtuous lives, thereby fulfilling both their faith's vertical obligation as well as its horizontal responsibility, their devotion to God and their duty to society. And this is the big L of Islam, the big L of Islam. This double commitment that Islam enjoins upon all of its believers to venerate the Lord, worship God, praise Allah, and to serve society, the community, the Ummah. Pilgrims, as well as all Muslims, must aspire to become more focused upon God on the vertical plane, while also becoming more socially responsible on the horizontal level. And only when they do so will they become genuine Muslims. Otherwise, they are just fake Muslims. The Hajj, therefore, fosters closeness with the Creator by encouraging authentic piety and real righteousness. And this in turn engenders humility and charity, which is another interrelated intention of the pilgrimage, the fourth P of the Hajj. The fourth P of the Hajj. In this respect, the Hajj is linked to the fourth P that we derive from the pilgrimage, and this is the P of philanthropy. Philanthropy is a fancy word for charity, philanthropy. Right at the beginning of the Quran and repeatedly throughout Islam's sacred scripture, there are repeated divine directives binding, connecting prayer with philanthropy, worship with charity, linking our personal devotions of God with active charity to the destitute and the deprived. In this respect, we read in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 3, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Those who believe in the unseen and keep up prayer and spend out of what we have given them. This permanent connectivity between prayer and philanthropy, between devotion and charity, is emphasized, stressed, and reinforced during the Hajj. These two twin elements of Islam are encapsulated in the pilgrimage, which requires that all pilgrims sacrifice an animal to feed the poor and the hungry. And this act of collective charity is the most potent symbol that needs to be replicated, not just now during the pilgrimage, but throughout the year. Every Muslim is enjoined to give compulsory gifts, not only in the form of mandatory zakah, almsgiving, but also in the meritorious sadaqah or voluntary contributions. charity, and philanthropy are thus indelibly connected in Islam. Everyone needs to make altruistic donations on behalf of themselves and their family. The Hajj is thus a refresher course, an intensive workshop, a rigorous therapy, and it is the purpose of constant prayers and regular charity. The Hajj brings to the forefront the incontrovertible fact that our daily devotions must always be combined with constant charity. So, if sincere prayers are an effective balance to human arrogance, greedy materialism, and personal vanity, then surely selfless charity, voluntary work, and altruistic service are efficient antidotes to avarice, selfishness, and egotism. This twin interrelated process is vividly reinforced during the Hajj, when daily supplications and the voluntary giving of alms assume a far greater relevance. And this is the key message that Muslims should heed if they wish to become authentic believers and good citizens. So remember, my friends, that philanthropy, charity, is intrinsic to the Hajj. It must be practiced not only as part of the pilgrimage, but also, like I've said, on a regular and constant basis throughout their lives, and not just during Hajj or Ramadan. And this is the abiding lesson of the fourth P of the pilgrimage. Finally, we now come to the fifth principal lesson of the Hajj that we can all derive benefits from. And this is the P for perseverance. Perseverance. Sabr. But I'll come to the word sabr in a moment. When the pilgrim has truly absorbed and accepted the other four P's of the pilgrimage, that are parity, plurality, piety, and philanthropy, then the natural result and direct consequence of all this is a rejuvenated iman, faith in God, and a much stronger level of personal piety or taqwa that will be exhibited through patience, persistence, and perseverance. Through patience, persistence, and perseverance in all aspects of their lives. When Muslims go on pilgrimage, they are not only glorifying divine unity, but they are also reenacting the trials and tribulations of Prophet Abraham, his wife Hagar, and his son Ismail. The tests and the troubles that they endured were set out by the Creator to boost their faith and fortitude. And this is best exemplified when they voluntarily submitted to the divine will and personified the key virtues of patience, perseverance, and persistence. For example, Abraham was advised to be patient while waiting for the birth of a long-desired son. Hagar persevered in a long and frantic quest for water for her thirsty infant, while Ismail was persistent that his father respectfully obey the command of the Creator. Each of them, individually as well as collectively, were tested in their own way, and they all passed their divine exams with flying colors. This, my friends, is reflective of the power of the pilgrimage. Life, as we all know, is full of difficulty and problems. For many of us, not a day goes by when we do not have to confront trauma or have to deal with a crisis or predicament. The claimed Abrahamic model that is encapsulated in the Hajj guides believers to deal effectively with personal travails and social dilemmas that afflict everyone. Abraham and his family has bequeathed a successful methodology to us. They have given us a perfect template, the best route to follow, and through a prudent mix of patience, perseverance, and persistence, God will indeed come to the aid of believers, as he confirms in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 186. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. And when my servants ask you about me, say, indeed I am near, and I answer the prayer of the supplicant when they pray to me. Now, the word sabr. Too often, Muslims misinterpret trouble and failure as signs of harsh fatalism or cruel predestination. Nothing can be further from the truth. Crises, troubles, difficulties, and other predicaments that all humans face are designed to steal our mettle, to distinguish between the fence sitters, the mumtarun. You know, many people like that. They're sitting on the fence, see which way the wind is blowing, and then they will jump according to the winning side. So the Quran is very much against fence sitters. And it tells the mu'minun, the faithful, that the way to differentiate between these nominal believers, the fence sitters, and those who are truly committed is to see in their actions. The Hajj underlines the Quranic guidance that all those who are truly connected to the Creator will, through a wise combination of patience, perseverance, and persistence, attain their secular as well as their spiritual objectives in the end. But far too often, Muslims interpret the word sabr just as patience. Patience as a passive, motionless, or inert state of being. In other words, they think that simply having to sit back and accept what has been dished out to them. Just think, if Hagar, Hajira, had done so and waited without lifting a finger and without making a profound effort to find water in the barren desert, then surely her baby would have perished. So instead of regarding sabr, patience, purely as an inactive and submissive frame of mind, Muslims should use this word sabr to talk about perseverance. For example, when you learn to ride a bike, when you learn to walk, how many times didn't you fall? But you always got up and persevered, and now you can ride a bike. This is perseverance. Not sabr, sitting on your backside and hope that God will now suddenly miraculously teach you how to ride a bike. You have to do it through your own effort and your own will. So, when Muslims become proactive, they will be persistent and they will persevere. And if they do this, rather than meekly waiting for things to happen, they will have better control over their earthly lives and be entitled to the God-given rights of free will and individual choice. By persevering and being persistent, they will be able to find pragmatic solutions to the problem. In this way, they will emulate, replicate the divine test that Abraham, Hagar, and Ismail all passed so brilliantly. This, my friends, is the ultimate recipe if we wish to gain material progress as well as spiritual salvation. To the fifth and final P of the pilgrimage encourages everyone to copy the noble characteristics of perseverance and persistence. So, from this brief analysis of the Hajj, it is plain that this pivotal institution of Islam is a tremendously transformative experience. The philosophy and the power of the Hajj, if properly understood, leads to the rejection of racist, ethnic, and sexist prejudices, while embracing all human diversity and practicing ideological tolerance, which is the real mantra of Islam. So from the 5 P's of the pilgrimage, parity, plurality, piety, philanthropy, and perseverance, it is self-evident that the Hajj is designed not only to enhance personal righteousness and God consciousness, but also to advance universal solidarity and global peace. In other words, the pilgrimage is the ideal vehicle to underscore the interconnectedness between the vertical sphere and the horizontal plane of human mortal life, this big L of Islam. Remember, in this faith, our faith, your faith, my faith, in this faith, there can be no salvation, no heaven, no paradise without selfless, altruistic service to society. So, my friends, when we firmly understand the significance of the pilgrimage, that will be the moment that we finally absorb the motivational message and the majesty of the Hajj, the Makkah al-Mukarramah, the hallowed city of the prophets Abraham and Muhammad. To sum up then, the Hajj has to usher in a complete change and a total inner revolution if it is to be worthwhile. What is the purpose of embarking on the Hajj when a person persists in leading an unrighteous life? It is a meaningless experience and a blatant affront to the Creator and a betrayal of the solemn undertaking to the Lord. So while we are unable to perform the Hajj this year, let us remember the fortunate few who are there and pray that they have truly comprehended its authentic significance in implementing the inspirational lessons of the pilgrimage into their normal lives. Let us think of those who will return from this life-changing spiritual transformation as changed characters, those who have learned the lasting lessons of the Hajj, those who recognize and benefit from the power, the prudence, and the pertinence of the pilgrimage. We trust that they will not resume cavalier lifestyles, but incorporate the genuine and tangible benefits of the Hajj by journeying along the righteous pathway that will elevate them from being a merely mundane Muslim to becoming an authentic mu'min believer, and later, inshallah, God willing, involving to the apex of spirituality by becoming genuine muttaqi, the truly pious, the waliullah, the friends of God. The Hajj, my dear friends, is therefore the definitive expression of reconciling the vertical with the horizontal in Islam, of combining the eternal with the earthly, of joining the theological with the temporal, of merging the spiritual with the secular. And if the returning pilgrims do this, then the supreme purpose and main mission of the Hajj would be realized. Try then to remember the 5 P's of the pilgrimage: parity, plurality, piety, philanthropy, and perseverance. And do your very best to enshrine them into your daily routines. Convert the interrelated concepts relating to parity, pluralism, piety, philanthropy, and the perseverance of the Hajj into sturdy, strong foundations in your life. And when you do this, you will manifest the beauty, the brilliance, and the bounty of Islam. Before ending, let us pray that Almighty God will one day enable us to pay homage to the very first house of monotheism at Makkah by permitting us to fulfill a pivotal pillar of Islam, so that we may also benefit from the Hajj's multiple dimensions and its transformative potency that have all been highlighted during the pilgrimage, inshallah. All that remains for me now is to greet all of you on this exceptional day and joyous occasion. I salute all of you on this blessed Eid al-Adha, the festival of the sacrifice, with some of the traditional greetings from around the Muslim world. In the Indian subcontinent and Iran, people greet each other on this auspicious day by saying Eid Mubarak or Eid Sa'id, meaning happy and blessed Eid. In Southeast Asia, it is common to address people on Eid by saying Salamat Hari Raya or Salamat Eid al-Adha, which means happy Eid in Malaysian and Bahasa Indonesian. But in that part of the planet, Muslims also tend to greet one another with a really remarkable saying. They say, Maaf lahir dan batin, which translates into, I'm sorry, both physically and spiritually, if I may have offended you. I'm sorry, both physically and spiritually, if I have offended you. Because in Southeast Asia, Eid al-Adha is not only an uplifting festive celebration, but it's also the time for believers to wipe the slate clean and to start afresh with family, friends, colleagues, and neighbors. In Turkey, Muslims greet each other on this jubilant day with a classic salutation, Bayram, in Olsen, meaning joyous and blessed Eid to you. While in all Arabic lands, the universal greeting on this propitious day is Kulli Aam wa Antum bi Khair. May you enjoy good year every year. May you enjoy good every year. But whatever the greetings or the language, the message remains the same. It is a time of unfettered spiritual joy and festive happiness. So before we exchange greetings, and some of you may have gifts, enjoy specially prepared food or go out to celebrate the day. Let me end this Eid al-Adha service by asking that each of you turn warmly to one another in your homes, hug and embrace everyone there in a spirit of peace, harmony, friendship and reconciliation, and give the most friendly of all salutations and best wishes to all those on this online gathering. This is the time for religious elation and personal bliss as we glorify the one and only Lord of the heavens and the earth. Kulli Aam wa Antum bi Khair. Eid Mubarak. Blessed greetings to everyone on this special day. I will unmute people now. Those who want to say greetings, please come on video so people can see you. And the floor is open to anyone and everyone who wants to.
Eid Mubarak,
Eid Mubarak to everybody. Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak. Can we say Eid Mubarak?
Also, single out
everybody. Yeah.
Everybody. Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak.
Johanna,
Eid Mubarak.
Salman and Chloe.
Eid Mubarak, Dr. Taj.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak. Louis.
Eid Mubarak, everyone.
Come on.
Eid Mubarak, everybody from our family.
Right.
Come on.
Eid Mubarak,
Eid Mubarak,
everybody.
Salman. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
How's the family?
Yes, very good, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and now here in the UK, we're going to have the hottest day of the year. So I don't know if you're jumping into the pool, but the pools are closed. I'm hoping later this afternoon, me and my wife could go for a swim in the Thames. So that's our plan for this afternoon.
Nice.
Wow.
He's already been, you know, he's already been for a swim this morning in the Thames.
Well, see, your husband always beats me to it. He's super fit, and I really tell him I can't keep up with him. I'm too old.
Well, no one should be keeping up with
and
him.
I'm not able to do what he does.
No one should keep up with him.
Okay, Zora, all the best for you for Eid. And Sarah,
Yes.
all the best.
Thank you, and to you.
Okay, and I'm sorry that we have to, those of you who may have to come back at 12 o'clock for the Jummah. It's a tough day for us. I was hoping, maybe very selfishly, and we're supposed to be selfless, I was hoping that Eid would be tomorrow so that I would have a break, that I would have to do 2 services in one day. But sadly, it didn't work out that way. And so, unfortunately, we will have to come back in an hour's time. Eid Mubarak to you, Yasmin, and to your family.
Eid Mubarak.
Okay, Siti, Eid Mubarak to you. Okay, look out there in Swaziland, in Swati, in Africa. All the best. Look for the glorious day. I hope you have such fantastic weather that we have today. Our weather today is unbeatable. It is really hot out there. This morning when I came to the office, it was already 24 degrees at 8 o'clock. Now, I don't know what it's there now, but I'm sure it's going to go up to about 34, 35 degrees.
Well, I hope everyone in the UK enjoys it in a wonderfully socially distanced way.
Yeah?
Thank you.
We have to do social distancing. Anyone out there want to say hello to people? Please go ahead, identify people, say hi to them.
Eid Mubarak, Shazia.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid
Eid Mubarak.
And Eid Mubarak, Sarah, as well.
Sarah.
Assalamu.
Okay, Firoza, can you hear? Firoza, all the best for you and your children. Eid Mubarak. And Tina and the daughters.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak.
Yeah,
Very cute. Rabina.
Eid
Well, I
Mubarak.
hope Nazir, Chinara, all the best to you, your wife, lovely wife and daughter, and newly married daughter. All the best for them. I hope that the khutbah, the sermon this morning was relevant and inspired you to see the Hajj in a broader light and how to become closer to the Creator.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It was lovely.
Siti, you are there. So say something, Siti. I can't hear you.
No, I just said it was lovely. Thank you so much, Dr. Taj. Broadening our outlook on Eid and Eid al-Adha and life in general. Thank you.
Siti, you're very right, because what he does is he broadens it. I mean, I saw WhatsApp messages last week saying the last day to cut your hair, last day to cut your nails. These are, you know, ritualistic, tiny things. He always reminds us of the bigger picture.
Yeah. I'm very thankful for that.
Yes, me too.
Okay, Halima in Cape Town, how's the Eid day there?
Oh, yes. Quiet fast,
And
but
my auntie there as
beautiful
well.
weather.
My auntie.
Right.
Auntie Nadia.
Yes, my mom also
Thank you.
attended the Open
I'm
Mosque
glad to see your
Id.
mother. She's looking very young and
She
beautiful.
looks like your sister, Halima.
Yeah, so is she having carrot juice or something that keeps her so young and beautiful?
No, just an oats.
No, you need to
porridge
give
in
me
the
the
morning.
secret. You know, I need to be young and beautiful like you.
Oh, the fountain of youth. Forest?
Lies in porridge. Yeah.
Yes, Forest.
Okay, so I'm not going to keep you much longer now because you need to enjoy some snacks, talk to family and friends, and I hope you can have a great afternoon after Jummah. Please come back if you can, and we will then really enjoy the day after the Jummah. See you in an hour or two, in an hour's time, I suppose. Yeah, in an hour's time, hour 15 minutes.
Can I say happy to Pushpa and her two boys?
Yeah.
They have done really well in school, and Burhan is going to go to the university. So please pray for them.
Right. We will wish Pushpa's children all the best in their school and university careers, and hope that they become true examples of perfection, of going to the top of the ladder. We Muslims must go to the top of the ladder in every walk of life. We mustn't be at the bottom of the ladder. Okay?
Yes.
We as Muslims, whatever we decide to do, whether it's medicine, whether it's architecture, whether it's a graphic designer, or whatever, we should aspire to become the best and the brightest. The best and the brightest. And with Allah's help and with God's intervention, we will definitely become